We are live on the Bullpen Podcast. I don't start stopping until Adam starts bobbing his head. And so now he knows my little trick, and he's going to start bobbing his head like as soon as he starts getting annoyed with my intro there. But fuck that shit. Everybody's got their signature intro, and that's ours now. So here we go. Welcome to the Bullpen Podcast. I am your host, Chris Krogman at Shy Bears 1985 on the Twitter machine. You can find Adam Kunos at Kunos19 and the Bullpen Podcast at the Bullpen Podcast on Twitter. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube and where you get all of your podcasts. That would be Spotify, Apple, wherever. There's all kinds of like little tiny ones that I never knew about. But if you're listening in like Paraguay, that's where you're going to find us. And we're glad you're here. We're excited to be here as well. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. It is damn near September. Call-ups tomorrow, I believe. And if not the first couple days, I don't know if they actually have a rule about September call-ups. But yeah. And we are going to talk a little Cy Young today. But before that, Adam Kunos, how are you, my friend?
I am doing fabulous. I am back from my short weekend in Dallas. I am sporting a Rangers hat with the nice little 50th patch on the side, the bright red Ranger hat. Got a chance to go to Globe Life Field over the weekend. Fantastic stadium. Got a tour of the stadium. Learned some pretty fun facts about the stadium, which we'll get into after a weekend preview. But back in Florida, back in schools, classes have started up for me yet again. The first of 3 final quarters before I hopefully graduate next spring/summer, sometime next year.
Is there a concern that you won't graduate?
No, I just can't remember exactly the date. I'm bad with dates.
Okay. All right. So you will be a college-educated young man that struggles with dates and name pronunciations. Got it.
Correct. Thank God for spell check and other people that talk in the office.
So, there's a big topic going on right now. We won't get into politics on this show, but student loan forgiveness. So you're an older gentleman, Adam, not your typical college age student. Did you have to take out loans for this school, or you? Oh yeah, your fucking employer's paying for it. Never mind.
No, but my wife did have to take out loans. She actually just paid off one of 2 loans she had. So we went to check the other loan and we weren't sure was it paid off, was it not, because when they announced that student loans were paid off, they were very vague on, if you have Pell Grants, they'll be paid off. If you make under a certain amount, they're paid off. So who knows?
I don't really get the Pell Grant thing. You already got a grant. Why do you need more? Whatever. Let's not, like
exactly.
I said, don't get me going. Here we go.
We are not a politics show.
No. So we are sponsored by Fanatics, though. So you can head on over and get all of your MLB gear at Fanatics, including a bright red Texas Rangers hat that Adam is sporting. I used to have that hat. It's fucking sick. If you wanted to ask me, and I would tell you, it's really cool. You can get, hats, T-shirts, probably some like armbands, some keychains, random shit. But Fanatics is awesome. They got everything.
They got everything. You mean, regardless of Major League Baseball, I feel like other sports, football, hockey, basketball, college sports, college football is kicking back off again.
We don't talk about other sports on this podcast, do we, Adam?
Very rare that we talk about other sports in this podcast.
We talk about other sports almost every single podcast, but a very small percentage. Very small percentage.
A very teeny tiny percentage.
But that's okay, because we like sports and you guys like sports. If you listen to a baseball podcast, there's a good chance you listen to anything else relating to sports. So Adam had a blast in Texas. What was your favorite thing about the stadium, Adam? I know we're going to get into it. Actually, let me ask you this. What was the best food item at the stadium?
So where I was sitting, my friend was doing a speech for his church work that he does, and it was actually an all-you-can-eat buffet. So we had all-you-can-eat burgers, hot dogs, chips, soda. So I ended up eating 1 cheeseburger and 4 hot dogs and pretty much a ton of soda and chips.
All right. Was there anything unique at the stadium that you saw as far as food goes? Like, some minor league ballparks have that donut cheeseburger thing going on.
Yeah, they had a they had a couple of good nacho stands around. I mean, like you can create your own nachos, but I mean, like nachos are very vague. So I wouldn't say they had anything unique at the stadium. Just your typical ballpark food that you know of. Not like when you go to Arizona, you get the churro dog. They got anything unique at City Field?
They do, but I can't remember what the hell it is. I mean, they have some sort of hot dog. That's what it is. It's that silly chili dog, dude.
Yeah,
Chili dog that's freaking ridiculous.
I mean, when you go walking through, I mean, they had a couple of this like concession stands. I know when you go to Chase Field, they have Portillo's in the stadium. So if you like Portillo's, you can get Portillo's at Chase Field. Didn't really pay attention to most of the food in the stadium because I was more worried about the free food that I was getting for most of the game. So
there you go. Well, that's good. Well, it was good to talk about Adams weekend. We'll talk about the rest of the weekend in our weekend recap coming at you right now. First series was the Baltimore Orioles versus the Houston Astros. I had Houston sweeping 3-0. Adam had Houston winning 2-1. The Astros won 2-1. Took the first game 2-0. Orioles won the second game 3-1. Astros won the third game 3-1. Fairly low scoring series overall. Orioles, from when I checked on this series throughout the weekend, they were in it most of the time. Obviously, by the low score, you can see that. But Adam, what do you think of the Orioles being competitive against a very good Astros team?
I mean, I am surprised that they held their own against probably the best team in the American League, pitching and offense. I mean, the first thing that stands out to me is Brash in Game 1 blanks the Astros in 8 innings. They win 2-0. He goes 8 innings, only gives up about 4 hits to the game. Tate comes in and gets a save. So that was like probably the biggest thing that stood out for me was how competitive the Orioles were in just Game 1. I mean, they came off a really good series win against the Chicago White Sox, in which they came back and beat the White Sox in the final game. Go into Game 1, Game 2, 3-1, and then obviously dropped the series finale. But I'm sorry, they dropped the 2. So, yeah, I mean, very competitive. I think Baltimore showed a lot more than I thought they were going to show in this series, and just how close they kept each game.
Houston is banged up. Jordan Alvarez has been in and out of that lineup. I know Verlander's hurt now. I don't remember if he pitched in this series or not, but yeah, Orioles they're coming. I mean, I think they're going to be extremely competitive over the next few years. We talked about it last.
Sorry, there was actually an error in that.
This guy.
There was an error in that. I apologize. Baltimore actually won the series.
This dude, man.
I thought I read Houston on it, but no, Baltimore won the series. I am pissed at that one now.
Dude, I hope your professors aren't listening to this podcast.
One professor's the score, so yikes. That's a good way to start off.
Yikes.
Yikes indeed.
All right, well, never mind. So
strike that, rewind, let's start again.
Either one of us got that series right. Baltimore Orioles won this series. First game winning 2-0. Second game 3-1, and then the Astros won the final game 3-1. So Orioles, like I just said, are for real, and they are coming. So second series, because I'm not talking about that anymore. Now I feel silly.
I will talk at this series, and if anyone needs to feel silly, it shall be me. So it was the Cleveland Guardians facing off against the Seattle Mariners. And it was a pretty fun weekend for Mariners fans. They were celebrating Ichiro over the weekend. He was inducted into the Mariners Hall of Fame, so they were celebrating Ichiro and all of his great accomplishments with the Mariners. Game 1, Guardians lose 3-1. Game 2, Mariners win 3-2. Guardians do pull out the win in Game 3, 4-3. And then a shutout 4-0 in Game 4. Chris, you had the series split. I had Seattle 3-1. More impressive, Seattle. Actually, here's a question: Seattle actually good, or Cleveland trying to not win the AL Central?
Seattle's actually good, and we said that was one of my. I thought that they could win that series 3-1 just based on pitching. The what day Bieber pitched? He pitched Saturday, right? No, wait, he pitched. Yeah, he pitched Saturday, so that's the only game they won. They lost the Friday series with McKenzie going, and then I can't remember who pitched Thursday, and maybe I'm wrong on that. I can't.
Plesac pitched game 3.
Oh, okay. Never mind that.
I don't think Bieber pitched at all in this series. I'm double checking.
I thought he pitched. I thought it was McKenzie, Bieber, and then Plesac. But either way, I think the Mariners are good. They're a good team. They have good pitching, and they have a lot of good young bats. So I think, nobody expected Cleveland to be good this year. I think they're in a pretty weak division, and that's maybe a little indicative of their record. And that's why they are playing so well.
Yeah, and actually, Bieber did pitch game 2. He went 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 run, 1 earned. Did strike out 9, but then looks like the bullpen just didn't hold together and kind of gave up. Yeah, so it looks like. Oh yeah, that was the day that Cleveland walked it off in the bottom of the 11th. So the bullpen kind of blew it in extras, and so yeah, Seattle definitely for real this year. I think a lot better than actually as good as we thought they were going to be. They did go up to that slow start early in the season. They have rebounded to be a little more competitive. But Chris, I will agree with you. Cleveland is in a very weak division. The weakest division probably in baseball is the AL Central. They're only 8 games over 500. They're a game and a half over the Twins, 5.5 over the White Sox, who are just falling apart at the wheel right now. So,
the plus side for Cleveland, because they're not terrible, is they are 26-24 against teams over 500. So there are positives. Obviously they're leading their division, but I don't know how intimidating they really are.
Yeah, I don't know what Cleveland's going to do when they get into the playoffs. When they get into the playoffs, like they're obviously going to be facing a wild card team. There's no way they're going to catch the Yankees or the Astros for a first round bye. They're going to be playing a wild card team, but they're going to struggle against any wild card team they play, even though they will get home field at Progressive Field. So they will have home field if they end up winning the division for the wild card round.
Yeah, definitely. They're gonna struggle. So I don't know. That's why they play the games, though. Maybe they'll figure it out. In our third series, the Atlanta Braves, who just can't seem to lose, went to St. Louis and lost. So I had this series at 2-1 St. Louis. Adam had Atlanta 2-1. The Braves won the first game 11-4. Cardinals took the next 2 at 6-5 and 6-3. So the current standings in the NL Central have the Cardinals up on the Brewers by 5.5 games. I think we started talking about this around the All-Star break, that St. Louis would start to pull away in this division, and they have. It kind of started for me with the trading of Josh Hader from Milwaukee to the Padres. Something that I was not aware of that a baseball fan clued me in on this past week is that Hader and his wife had a tough pregnancy, and the baby did make it. So, good things there, good news there. But I think he could have, had his mind off of things or been distracted. Plus, the move to San Diego could obviously have led to a lot of loss of focus and things like that. I know, when my wife was pregnant with our two kids, we had doctor's appointments all the time, and they were healthy. If she was having a difficult pregnancy, then obviously it's going to stress Josh out. So I just thought he was having a bad season, but it seems like he could have been distracted. So thoughts and prayers with the Hader family. But Milwaukee has started to fade away in the NL Central. The Cubs are actually, I mean, for being a team that's 20 games under 500, they win a lot of weird games, which is it's just funny. Cincinnati is dog shit at 51 and 77, and Pittsburgh. You remember Cincinnati was even more dog shit at the beginning of the year, and like they were 5 and 30 at one point or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is now the bottom of the NL Central at 49 and 81, 26 games back. I think they're out of it, but they have not officially been eliminated. So let's go Bucks.
Yeah.
Over in the NL East, the Mets hold a 3-game lead over the Braves, a 10-game lead over the Phillies, and a 26.5-game lead over the Marlins of Miami. And the Washington Wannabes are 38.5 games back with a whopping 43 wins to 86 losses, the worst record in all of the land. Atlanta has a little bit of a tougher September than the Mets. They play the Phillies a lot. The Phillies are getting Bryce Harper back. He is hitting. Had like a couple hits in his first few games, so he's back. We'll see what happens in that NL East. It's going to be a tight race. It's probably the best race in baseball as far as, I mean, it's a tighter race in the AL Central, but between Cleveland, Minnesota versus the Mets and the Braves, I think I'll take Mets Braves every time. As far as top talent goes, I think either one of those teams could beat Minnesota or Cleveland in a playoff series. So that's the best race in baseball, in my opinion. Obviously, it's a little skewed, but Adam, what do you think as far as divisional races go?
I mean, I'm looking at the NL. I mean, the Dodgers have a 19-game lead over San Diego, so they're pretty much winning that division. It's just a matter of what day they're going to clinch now. So we're just waiting for that magic number to get down to 0. St. Louis has been impressive, opening up a 5.5-game lead over Milwaukee. I will agree with you. It is New York, Atlanta, probably the best division race coming down to the wire, because they're playing for that second NL spot. They're playing for the last home field advantage spot in the division series. They're playing for that first round bye, because whoever doesn't win the division, they're getting the wild card. They could be the top wild card in the NL, so they could still get home field in the NL wild card round. But I would rather have that division title, have that extra rest in the playoffs, and be set for the division series. I mean, yeah, New York, Atlanta, I think that they're going to be dogfighting the rest of the way down the stretch. Philadelphia, they're probably going to sneak in as a wild card here. And then obviously you got Miami and Washington just holding it down in the basement. But going back to your comment about Hader, yeah, I had no idea that they had a rough pregnancy. And obviously the move over to San Diego probably doesn't help everything. So again, thoughts and prayers to his family that his little one is doing well. Wishing nothing but healthy days ahead of them. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting NL race, probably more in the NL East than the NL Central. The Central divisions on both sides of the league are probably the weakest of each league if you're to rank 1 to 3. Best division in the NL has to be the NL East. NL West is second. NL Central is third. Moving over to the American League, it's probably the AL East is your best division, NL West second, and obviously AL Central as your third best division. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would agree with that, Adam. The NL West is actually pretty interesting in that Arizona has taken over that third spot over San Francisco, who has just fallen apart, lost 7 in a row, 2-8 in their last 10. Arizona is 6-4, has won 5 straight. Uh,
They swept the White Sox in Chicago over the weekend. That's pretty impressive for that team, especially going into a Chicago team that we thought was going to be a lot better than what they've shown. I was expecting Chicago to maybe at least take 2 out of 3, not to get swept by the Diamondbacks.
yeah, I think they've got at least a few really good players on that team. Zach Gallen and Christian Walker come to mind as the top pitcher and hitter on those squads. They still have Ketel Marte, and
And
then they
they've
have
locked
just
they've locked Marte up for a while, so they locked him up for a long-term deal. So I think they're looking to build around Marte in Arizona.
They should build around Christian Walker. That guy can slow.
That too, yeah, that guy too.
Um. All right. Well, that wraps up the weekend recap, and we will touch on more divisional races as we move into the weekend preview. But right now, we're going to touch on the others goings on around the leagues. As Aaron Judge has now hit his 50th home run. He's the 7th player in MLB history to hit 50 home runs before September. Currently on pace to surpass Roger Maris's 61, which is the most for the Yankee home run record and for the American League, which is pretty impressive post steroid era. And he's a massive human being. One interesting thing that some friends and I talk about is he has 50 home runs, but only like 104 RBI. So I'm curious how many of his 50 home runs are solo shots versus with runners on base. He's moved up and down the lineup by Aaron Boone, so it's an interesting chess piece that Boone uses in Aaron Judge. What do you think? What do you think about Aaron Judge in general, Adam?
I mean, he's having a great year. I mean, obviously the health has been most of the question. If we've always had that question, if he stays healthy, how good can he really be? And we're seeing it. But it does bring up an interesting question of all these home runs that he's hitting, how many are solo shots, but how many of these are maybe 2-run shots, 3-run shots, a grand slam maybe in there. His current pace right now, he's actually at 51 home runs. He's on pace to hit 63 home runs at this rate. So that will definitely put him 2 above Maris for the Yankee and AL record. I mean, he's just been phenomenal. He's your AL MVP front runner. He's helped the Yankees get off to a great start in the AL East, getting him a good division lead. Obviously, the rest of the team has had some health wise. His counterpart in the outfield, Stan, has been injured, so he's kind of been up and down all season. It's just the health of the rest of the team that's been the question, but he's actually proven to stay healthy for a good majority of the season.
He's actually at 51 now.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I was trying to look up how many of his are solo home runs, but I couldn't find it. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if he passes Maris. He's a hell of a ball player. I mean,
And I believe, hell of a ball. I believe someone from the Maris family came out and said that if Roger Maris was still alive today, he would be happy to see a Yankee surpass his record of 61. Obviously, Maris being a Yankee himself, you wouldn't be happy to see someone on the team that you play for surpass the record that you set for that team. I mean, your thoughts?
How the fuck? Who else is going to surpass the record for the team?
Yeah,
The team record. Do you mean the American League record?
I think he's talking more Yankee record because obviously the Yankee record is the AL record. So I think I gotta figure out who from the Maris family came out and said that.
That seems like a silly statement to me. Maris is happy that a Yankee broke the Yankee record. It's
I'm,
not like
I'm,
it's not
I'm
like a
sure
Red Sox can break their Yankee record.
I'm sure that's something for publicity going forward. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Because remember, if you saw the movie 61, directed by Billy Crystal, fantastic movie. They actually went into how the widow of Babe Ruth was on the surface happy for Maris chasing down Ruth's record of 60 back in 1961, but behind the scenes said no, he would not be happy. That was his record. He cherished it. He would not want anyone to break that record, regardless of what uniform they were wearing. So it does bring up the question of, did he say that just for good publicity, or is he learning from the past where Ruth's widow did the same thing to Maris back in 61, and are they trying to like correct something that maybe happened to their father that did put a lot of stress on his shoulders going down the stretch, because at the time that Maris was going for that record, it was a cherished record. No one ever come close to 60. And when you get two Yankees chasing that record, that's just a lot of pressure for both players.
Meh.
Yeah.
Meh. I don't know, man. That was a long time ago. It was like 70 years ago.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well, good for Aaron Judge. So this next news story, I just can't fucking believe this is happening, because I flat out said that that Albert Pujols wouldn't get to 700, and then the dude's just been hitting a home run like every other game. Now he has pretty much all of September to hit 6 more to get to 700. He has hit 694 home runs. I jokingly said that he would get suspended for 80 games at like 698 to another friend, because he's like 60 years old, dude. I mean, we were talking about Puerto Rican players and like having falsified birth certificates potentially, and that people think Pujols could be much older than he really is. And for him to still be doing it like this, if he's not on anything, amazing, just flat out amazing. If he is, then it's still pretty cool, but it's also not as cool as if he's clean.
Yeah. I mean, we both said that we were kind of iffy on him reaching 700, and he's what, 694. He's 6 homers away from getting to 700.
He's basically hit 6 in a week, because we said last week he was 12 away, and I said he had like 5 or 6 weeks to do it, and I was like, there's no way, because like 12 in a month is incredible, and at his age and with his current home and with his, like, he's basically would have had to have hit as many home runs as he had hit up until that point. Like he was at like 14 or something like that, and he'd have to hit another 12 in 1 month, and now he's doing it, and it's like, that's good for you, Albert, getting hot at the right time. I hope he gets there.
I hope he does too. I think that's going to be a great story. I think that's a great way for him to end his career. He gets to 700. Maybe the Cardinals get in the playoffs. We'll see how far they go. I think it's a good ending for him to end his career in the Cardinals uniform, because, in my opinion, it doesn't look right that if he would end his career in a Dodger uniform or an Angel uniform. For me, it always looks better when a player retires with the team that they started with. So I'll give you an example. So Griffey, drafted by the Mariners.
There are a lot, yes, but there are enough to where, like, where's Mike Piazza retire? Is he a Dodger?
Or is he a Met?
To me, he did more with the Mets.
That also brings up Randy Johnson.
Yep, Randy's a great case because he's all over the place, right?
Yeah. So he had Seattle, Houston for half a season, Arizona, San Francisco, and Montreal and New York. So,
but everyone, Yankees.
2 years,
and then like what about Clemens? Clemens is another good one. You know,
he bounced all over the place. Toronto, Boston, New York, Houston.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Houston ones like that, those like half years and 1 year, 2 years, those don't mean much to me. Like, I mean, Clemens spent a few years in the almost all of the AL East,
Yeah,
So
and
those are the
I,
ones that trip me out. I would probably say it would come down to Boston or New York.
I would probably lean more New York just because he had more success. Obviously, winning a couple rings with the Yankees.
He won. Did he had a 20 strikeout game in both uniforms, right?
I believe he did. I believe he struck out 20 for both the Red Sox and the Yankees. I mean, it's a good toss-up. I know Houston fans would love to see him in a Houston hat just because he helped the Astros get to their first World Series in franchise history in 05. But he only spent a season, I believe, 2 seasons or 2.5 seasons with Houston, him and Pettit, when they did their little stint in Houston. But I mean, going back to Pujols, good for him. Way to kind of prove that you still have enough in the tank to get to this 700 mark. And I hope he gets it. I honestly hope he gets it because that's just going to be a great story overall, especially for the game. I think it's a good story for the game.
It is a great story for the game. All right. I hope he doesn't get popped for steroids. I would feel fucking terrible. But yeah, moving on. So the Cy Young, we talked about the MVP race last week. And now we're going to talk a little Cy Young. Preface this with a lot of these dudes are banged up, which is really unfortunate. Justin Verlander's banged up. Tony Gonsolin's banged up. So all with a grain of salt. But we will talk about all of them. Adam, as the White Sox fan and a representative on this list, why don't you break down the American League Cy Young for the fans?
So the list we got pretty much went with your top 5 pitchers in who I believe are in the American League. And Chris, you can fill me on anyone that I had missed. But I believe you have Justin Verlander, who's sitting at 16-3, a 1.84 ERA, 154 strikeouts, only walked 26, a .86 WHIP, opposing batting average of 190. Shane McClanahan out of Tampa, 11-5. 2.2 ERA, 182 Ks, 30 walks, also a .86 WHIP, opposing average of 185. Dylan Cease of the White Sox, 12-6, 2.27 ERA, leading the league in strikeouts with 190, has walked 62. His WHIP is 1.12, opposing average is 193. Alek Manoah of Toronto, 12-7, 2.6 ERA, 147 Ks, 39 walks, WHIP of 1.03, opposing average of 212. Framber Valdez of Houston, 14-4, 2.63 ERA, 150 Ks, high walks as well, kind of close seats as 56, 1.12 WHIP, and an opposing average of 214. So out of those 5 pitchers, if you're going by record, obviously Verlander's your top go-getter with a 16-3. He's the closest to that magical number of 20 wins for a pitcher. You got Dylan Cease, who's leading the American League in strikeouts. Has struggled over the last 2 games. Games versus Baltimore, also versus Kansas City. So he's still pretty decent. For the White Sox, he's I believe their wins leader for that team. But you got McClanahan, Manoah, and Valdez, who are all making their own cases for Cy Young. So I think you got 5 good pitchers in the American League who are going for Cy Young. And Chris, I know you put the odds on favorite. Verlander's at a -250. Cease is at +250. McClanahan is at a +1,500. Ohtani is at a +2,500. Valdez is at plus 3,000. Manoa at plus 5,000. Shane Bieber and Kevin Gausman both at plus 12,500. So, I mean, you're gonna have good Cy Young races in the American League going down the line, in my opinion, just based on stat line alone.
Yeah, the guy I've liked since the beginning of the year or since early in the season was Shane McClanahan. He's a lot of fun to watch. He's had the numbers pretty much all season to back it up. Dylan Cease is a very great bright spot for the White Sox, who have had a little bit of a struggle this season. Verlander, just unbelievable that he's still doing it at his age, and then Manoa and Valdez also having very good seasons. It's going to be a good race down the stretch, like you said. Verlander currently odds-on favorite with the best record, best ERA, tied for the best WHIP. So he's getting it done for a Houston team that is very good, and at his age, and he's already won multiple Cy Youngs. I think as long as he can get healthy again, remain pretty much unscathed through his final probably 4 or 5 starts, depending on how hurt he is and how much they push him, and how much they want to save him for the playoffs. I think he can get this Cy Young. Outside of that, I mean, I like McClanahan to get it done over Cease. He's got a little bit better numbers. I think Dylan Cease's biggest draw is his Ks, but I mean, he's got 8 more than McClanahan, and I was trying to think if they've probably started roughly the same amount of games, so either way. But who do you like to win this race, Adam?
I mean, if I was a betting man, I would probably say Verlander's probably my odds-on favorite to get the AL Cy Young this year, just based off his record. I mean, kind of like how Pujols is just getting hot at the right time. Verlander is just still pitching phenomenal late in his career. I do like Cease. He has, like you said, been that one bright spot for the White Sox, who have struggled this year. He's leading the American League in strikeouts. McClanahan from Tampa has been good. Cease and McClanahan have been trading strikeout leaders the entire season, so they've been going back and forth with leading the league in strikeouts. But give me Verlander. I would, if I were a betting man, I would place my money on Verlander to walk away with the Cy Young at the end of the year.
Well, you should be a betting man. It's fun, especially when you lose all your money. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
Always good. Always good.
Always fun. Yeah. Man, I'm pulling for McClanahan. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I mean, just based off of numbers and youth, I like to see new new winners if they're not on my team. So Verlander's been there, done that. Let's see a new young kid win a Cy Young award. In the National League, we have Tony Gonsolin, who is 16-1 with a 2.10 ERA, has struck out 116 batters, has 35 walks, 0.86 WHIP, and a 0.169 batting average against. This is absolutely ridiculous. And he is actually not even close to the top odds-on favorite. His teammate is tied with him very closely. Julio Urias at 14-7 with a 2.32 ERA, 137 Ks, 31 walks, 0.95 WHIP, and an opponent's average of 200 against. Those guys are both plus 2,500. Kyle Wright of Atlanta is not actually the highest Atlanta pitcher on the odds-on favorite, but he is 16-5 with a 2.99 ERA, 144 Ks, 41 walks, 1.13 WHIP, opponent average of 230, so a little bit higher than the first few. Tyler Anderson from the Dodgers has a 2.69 ERA, 111 Ks, 30 walks, 1.02 WHIP, and a 219 average against. While Carlos Carrasco from the Mets has a 3.92 ERA, 124 Ks, 33 walks, 1.3 WHIP, and a 2.68 average against. I think he has like 11 wins, and I think Anderson's around 12 or 13. But yeah, the missing Brave is Max Fried, who is plus 2,000 to win, but the odds-on favorite to win the NL Cy Young is Sandy Alcantara from the Miami Marlins. What do you think about the list you have compiled, Adam, which I think is a good list, versus the Cy Young odds-on favorite winner? Run it down again from top to bottom. Alcantara at minus 800, Fried at plus 2,000, or basically 20 to 1. Urias at 25 to 1, Gonsolin 25 to 1, Burns 35 to 1, Carlos Rodon is 40 to 1, Max Scherzer is 50 to 1, and the only closer on the list, Edwin Diaz of the New York Mets, who just got another save tonight over the Dodgers. He is also 50 to 1.
I'll go with Alcantara from the Miami. I mean, you said 12-6, 2.13 ERA, whip of 0.98, 167 strikeouts. Obviously, can't believe I missed him off this Cy Young list. I mean, I think if I look at both leagues, the NL Cy Young is probably a little more competitive than the AL Cy Young. In my opinion, there's a lot more talent on the National League side when it comes to pitching. I mean, in the list I got, you have 3 Dodgers on the list right now, just based off ERA and wins that are running for the Cy Young. Gonsolin, Urias, and Anderson are all probably going to get some Cy Young votes. Tyler Anderson probably not as much as Urias and Gonsolin. Do you think that a closer could come in and sneak in for Cy Young? Have we ever? I don't think we've ever seen a closer win the Cy Young, but do you think it's possible that maybe Diaz sneaks in?
No. It's happened because they talked about this earlier in the year before Hader kind of fell apart, because he was completely unhittable for a good stretch of the beginning of the year, where he hadn't even given up a run for like his first 20 appearances or something ridiculous. But it's happened. Relievers have won the Cy Young. I think it's happened like 4 or 5 times. Like Eckersley won it. Most recently is Eric Gagne from the Dodgers won it in the 90s.
Mariano Rivera probably won it maybe at least once in his career, I would assume.
I think Gagne might be the last one to win it. I don't think Rivera's won it. But I don't think – I think it's possible. I do think it's possible, but I don't think they'll give it to Diaz this year.
Yeah, I mean –
Alcantara's just ridiculous.
Yeah, Alcantara he's just been lights out for Miami. Again, Miami has a lot of youth, and he's kind of leaned that youth charge in Miami. So I would say Alcantara is probably your odds-on favorite to win the Cy Young. Assuming that the rest of the year he stays healthy, he has good games going in, because September you have maybe on average 5 to 6 starts in September if you're a starting pitcher, so you may see an average of 5 starts. Now, if you're in a playoff race, you may not last a lot in a game. You may go 5-6 innings at most if you're battling for a playoff spot. If you're not battling for a playoff spot, depending on if you're playing a team that is in contention or a team that's not in contention, your innings can fluctuate based on how well the game's going. So we'll see. Sure. I mean, we'll see. There's a lot that's going to be going down for all these Cy Young contenders, and if they're in a playoff race or not. I think that's the key right there.
Yeah, I agree. And you got guys from both ends or both sides that are and are not on playoff contending teams. Shohei Ohtani obviously is not on a playoff team, and neither is Sandy Alcantara. But both are very talented. I don't think either. I mean, I think Alcantara's got a real shot to win it. It's interesting that Gosselin is so low, and I think the Dodgers guys are hurt by the offense of the Dodgers, and their win totals are hurt by them. But I mean, the rest of their numbers are very, very solid. The one big difference for me is, Kyle Wright has 144 strikeouts. We looked in the American League, and McClanahan and Cease are 8 strikeouts apart, where in the National League, Sandy Alcantara is like 20 to 25 ahead of the next guy behind him in this Cy Young race. So he strikes people out. He doesn't allow a lot of hits or walks. Has low batting average against. He's just on a really shitty team. But Jake DeGrom won multiple Cy Youngs when he was not being supported with any run support in New York. So it's completely and utterly possible. So I think that's who we're going to see win this Cy Young.
I would agree. I mean, it's going to be a fun month for pitching, and if you are paying attention to races, we have given you a number of pitchers to watch for the last month of September, because September starts tomorrow. As we said, it is sneaking up on us. Tomorrow is September.
Tomorrow is September?
Yep, so tomorrow is September.
Well, that is something else. Football is 1 week from tomorrow, so baseball will have some competition for TV time and for your attention. So don't forget, it is playoff season. We are coming down the stretch of the baseball season, and we're getting to the good part. The long 162 game grind is coming to an end, and we have playoff hunts and September call-ups for all of the young guys coming. So it'll be a lot of fun going down the stretch. But let's get into the weekend preview. Adam, who is our first big series of the weekend?
So first big series, we're going to go New York Yankees at Tampa Bay Rays. Currently standings, New York does have a good lead over Tampa in the AL East. I'll get things up here shortly. They currently hold a 7-game lead over Tampa. New York is 6-4 in the last 10. Tampa is 8-2 in the last 10. New York's going to line up with Jermaine, Schmidt, and Montas going for game 1, 2, and 3. I am seeing the stats from Tampa going up. We got Yarbrough going in for game 1, Springs for game 2, and Kluber for game 3. Again, New York has been injured. They have been kind of playing injury catch-up over the last couple of months. They haven't been as healthy as we see them at the beginning of the season when they were pretty much lining it up as the best team in baseball. Give me Tampa 2-1 in this series.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet, especially in Tampa. Games 2 and 3, Springs and Kluber both solid. Frankie Montas is okay. Jermaine, since he came back, is actually pitching pretty well for the Yankees. So I think they can take game 1, game 2, and 3. And I think Tampa can pull those games out. So I agree, 2-1 Tampa Bay. In series number 2, we have the up and down San Diego Padres. They are starting to come around. Soto and Machado have both hit a lot better as of late and have some pretty good numbers since the trade deadline. So they go into Los Angeles to face the Dodgers with Yu Darvish throwing game 1 against what's his name? Dustin May From the Dodgers in game 2, they have Sean Manaea versus Julio Urias. And in game 3, they're sending Mike Clevenger on the mound to face what is old boy's first name, Andrew Heaney, who just made, I think, his not like I can't believe how many starters the Dodgers have. I mean, they're like rolling out dudes I've never heard of. But this dude is pretty decent. He beat the Mets yesterday. So I think this is still a fun series. I think the Padres, let's see here. We haven't really talked about the NL West because the Dodgers are blowing the doors off of people. But Padres are 7-3 over their last 10. They've won 3 straight. They are 73-59. Still a very, very good baseball team. Their downfall is they are 20-29 against teams above 500. They are 19 games back of the NL West, but hold the second wild card spot by a game. Or they're tied with Philadelphia. What the fuck ever. So they and Philadelphia have 2 and 3 or 3. Yeah, 2 and 3 wild card spots for either way you slice it. It's pretty close. The Dodgers offense is just ridiculous, but I think San Diego wins 2 out of 3 in Los Angeles. What do you think, Adam?
I mean, the Padres, they have been up and down team the entire year. Obviously, losing Tatis for the entire season was not the ideal thing to do at first injury than to steroids. The Soto trade seems to be going better now. Him, like you said, him and Machado are kind of starting to click. Yeah, I could see San Diego taking 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. I mean, how many starting pitchers have the Dodgers used? I think they've used as many starting pitchers as they have.
47.
That's pretty much almost half their win total right there.
See? They just throw some new dude out there every day. No, it's like I feel like it's at least 7. Maybe more. Maybe 8.
Yeah, I'll go with you. I'll take San Diego 2-1 this series. They are playing for the second wild card spot. They are winners of 3 straight. Philadelphia is our losers of 3 straight as well. So yeah, give me San Diego in this series.
San Diego in this series. So games started. Sort. There's no way that this number was correct. Okay, so it is. What do you think the real number is?
The real number, they probably have gone with 20 different starting pitchers.
No, it's not like that. It really isn't. I was fucking around. It's 9.
9? Okay. So they pretty much put an entire lineup of pitchers on the field.
Yeah. They have used 33 pitchers in total this year. That's like, crazy. That's considering like your active roster is 25 or 26 players, depending on if you got doubleheaders or not. That's nuts.
That's taking a page out of Tampa Bay right there from just using a bunch of starting pitchers or different pitchers throughout the entire season.
So Urias, Anderson, and Gonsolin all have over 20 starts. Kershaw has 15. Buehler has 12. Haney has 10. Mitch White has 10. Ryan Pepiot has 7. Michael Grove has 2, and Dustin May has 2. This is fucking ridiculous. And they all win. They're all good. And it's not like they're good because their offense is good. They're good because they just don't allow. Who's the pitching coach for the Dodgers, and what's he putting in the water?
I have no idea.
Amen, brother. All right, our next series is the Philadelphia Phillies at the San Francisco Giants. This is pretty much a wild card race, sort of. The Giants, like I mentioned earlier, have been falling apart, coming apart at the seams. The Phillies they're suspect, man. I mean, they're talented, but they're so suspect. Kirk Gibson, just kidding. Kyle Gibson goes game 1 for the Phillies against Alex Cobb. Noah Syndergaard goes against, was it Jeff Junis in game 2?
Yeah.
And then Ranger, don't call me Walker, Texas. Suarez goes game 3 against Carlos Rodon. This series is like it matters, but I'm just so uninterested. I don't know why. I just don't like the Phillies. Don't like them. There are parts of me that want to like the Giants, but I don't like how they won like 3 World Series in the early 10s. So I think the Giants will actually win 2 out of 3 here with Cobb and Rodon. But Ranger Suarez has been pitching very well. Noah Syndergaard is a weirdo. He's a weird dude. And then Kyle Gibson. I don't know. I'm going to take the Giants 2-1. What do you got?
So this series for me, like you said, is more of a wild card spot. It's a good chance for Philly to get some distance in that wild card spot. It's a good chance for San Francisco to make up some ground in this wild card race. Gibson, Syndergaard, Suarez, Cobb, Junis, Rodon. Give me Philadelphia taking 2 out of 3 from San Francisco. I will go. I will ring the bell in Philadelphia, and I'll take Philly giving 2 out of 3 in this series.
All right. And the last series, Adam, is in the American League. Break it down for us, my friend.
So we talked about this series last week at the start of the show. The Mariners and Cleveland will meet again, this time in Cleveland for a 3-game series. Seattle has yet to name their starting rotation, but the Guardians are going Plesac, Chabal, and Quantrill for their first starting 3. Plesac 3-11, 4.39 ERA. Chabal is 2-6, 5.4 ERA, and Quantrill is 11-5. As I'm seeing this update, you got Castillo for the Mariners, Robbie Ray going in game 2, and Kirby going in game 3. The Mariners did play the Guardians very well in Seattle. I don't think Seattle is a good road team. I think they struggle on the road, if I remember correctly. I'm still going to take Seattle 2 out of 3 in Cleveland. I say that they take the first 2 games and drop the finale.
King Kirby is not dropping the finale. Just kidding. Anything happens on Sunday, and Cal Quantrill is very capable. So Seattle is 6 games over 500 on the road, as compared to, I almost read the wrong team. 7 games over at home, so they're pretty much equal.
Okay, even
at home and away. They're pretty much the same team. I want to call for a Mariners sweep, but I think you're right. 2-1 Mariners feels like the way to go. I'm curious to see this Mariners team in the playoffs. This pitching staff is solid.
Yeah, and if the Mariners do make the playoffs, they will break the longest Major League Baseball playoff drought in baseball. They haven't made the playoffs since 2001. So they will end the longest baseball playoff drought if they get to the playoffs this year.
When they get the playoffs. Yay!
Exactly. When they get to the playoffs.
What hat are they rocking now? What's their hat look like?
So the Mariners are rocking 3 different hats. So they rock a all-navy hat for their home and road. They have a navy and teal hat, which they break out with their teal jerseys. And then they have a royal blue hat with like a recolored design of their current logo to match the old Mariners colors of royal blue and gold back in the 70s. So it still has the S with the compass on it. It's just a navy teal, and an all royal blue hat.
That's pretty sick.
I mean, I think the royal blue throwbacks with the cream jerseys is sick. Those are pretty.
I don't
sick
like
jerseys.
the navy with the teal brim.
See that just reminds me of Griffey back in the day with the backwards hat.
I still don't
That's
like
fun.
it.
Nah, hater.
I love Ken Griffey. I just don't like that hat. I like the all blue navy with the S with the compass. That's probably my favorite one.
I mean, yeah, the logo's sick though. I love the Mariners logo is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, even their old logo is pretty sweet. The M with the fork.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good logo.
Alrighty, Adam. Well, we got a good weekend of baseball planned. I didn't plan it, but we got a good weekend of baseball on deck. It is Labor Day weekend, so all you hard workers out there, enjoy some time off, hang out with your families, eat some barbecue, have an adult beverage or two if that's your fancy. But until next week, have a good one.
Have a good night, everyone.